I've heard many photographers say, why bother shooting at honeypot locations? Why shoot views that have been shot a million times before? Well, I've got some thoughts about this that I'd like to share, and I've also got an example image from a honeypot location. What I'm going to do is talk about that image, break it down and explain my thought process, because I think that's the best way that we can learn from others, or at least be inspired by others. So why should we bother photographing that classic view? If you look for it online, you'll find tens of thousands of images, all looking the same. And I can guarantee you that a lot of those are going to be far better than the image that you took, because they had better lighting conditions. The person lives in that location and can go back multiple times to get the very best lighting conditions and time of day. And even if you do get a real cracker of an image, so what? We've seen it all before. Well, I think we should go to those classic locations and shoot them, but try and give ourselves the challenge of looking for something a little bit different and creative. Now, I know in some spots that's easier said than done, and some places it's almost impossible, but regardless, when we challenge ourselves, it's probably the single best way to become a better photographer, is just try and keep looking at things in a different way and try and do something that stands out from the crowd. Certainly if you want to make photography a career or make a little bit of side money from it, you need to have this mindset. You need to be pushing yourself to create images that stand out from the crowd. Mediocrity does not make you an income in photography. Certainly not one that's going to pay the bills. Well, my example is a real travel classic, the Vatican. Many people walk up to St. Peter's Square every year, point their camera and take the same shots. Millions and millions of this view exists. And when the light's uninteresting, it's the middle of the day and full of crowds, why bother? Well, the truth is, I didn't bother. I bought this image I'm showing you from a stock library for pennies. Here's a quick rant. The biggest mistake I see places like the Vatican are people wandering around with their camera, somehow hoping that their camera is going to find them a miraculous composition. They're hoping that all that money they spent on their technology will do most of the work. And that's nonsense, isn't it? Forget the camera. An exceptional image in this situation is created in here, not in there. The camera is just a tool to capture the idea that you've got. We all put too much reliance on technology, which is really stupid because we all have the same technology. There's no differentiation there. The thing that makes us all different is our mind and the way we think, our creativity. So that's what we need to work on more. Rant over. So I didn't take any of those classic images at St. Peter's Square, but what I did do was walk around for an hour and a half, and I was trying to figure out two things. The first thing was, is there any way I can find some sort of composition that tells a little bit of a story rather than just create a record shot of the place? And the second thing was, is there any way I could tell that story that was really, interesting compositionally, very dramatic? I love dramatic compositions. So two things. A tall order, you could say. That was a challenge. Boy, was it fun. Now, when I'm looking for a composition like this, I do not have my camera out. I do not use the camera. The camera is not needed to find a story. When I've found the story, then I get the camera out and try and figure out a composition that best tells that story in the most interesting way. I shot this. It was handheld. I was kneeling on the ground because I wanted to exaggerate those wheels of the buggies to act as diagonal leading lines taking the eye to St. Peter's. I love this dramatic angle, the light and shadows, and the contrasting colours of red and blue that themselves play quite nicely with the warmer tones in the background. The shadows in the foreground are really what attracted me to this composition in the first place. I find my eyes go there first because it's sort of interesting, and the contrasting colours and light and dark kind of really draw you in, and then from there the wheels take you to the back of the shot, to the building. So, big check on dramatic composition, and from a story point of view, another big check there too. Another thing that makes the image interesting is the fact that I'm so low to the ground. I had to kneel. And nobody does that at the Vatican, unless you're a choir boy. One final note is this image was shot about 18 years ago on slide film, colour transparency. Fujivalvia to be precise, which is very contrasty, very saturated. Not the sharpest of images, I'll grant you, but it doesn't matter. It's different. People like it. I like it. It's been published a few times, so that can't be bad, can it? So the takeaway today is don't rely on these guys. We've all got them. They're just tools. Work on this. So I know we can't travel right now and go off to exotic locations like St. Peter's Square, but we can go to the local park or the local church or the local somewhere that's been shot 1,000 times before and just give ourselves a bit of a challenge to look at things differently and try and be creative. The main thing, of course, is to have fun. Let's see how many people that offends.